All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into something truly bizarre. The World Cup has been running since 1930, and over all those decades, history has recorded events that sound completely, utterly made up. But I promise you, they aren't. We are going to cover 11 genuinely insane things that actually happened on the world's biggest sporting stage. Every single one of these 11 events is real, and every single one is thoroughly documented. And honestly, each one is more insane than the last. We're completely skipping the basic tournament histories today, because hey, if you follow the sport, you already know the stakes. What you might not know, though, are these unbelievable anomalies. The further we go down this list, the more surreal it gets, and nobody warned you about any of them. So we're dropping straight into the madness. Kicking things off with Part 1, Spectacles, Speed, and Enduring Myths. 173,000. Let that sink in for a second. That is the sheer, overwhelming number of fans who packed into one single stadium for the 1950 World Cup final. 173,000 human beings watching one football match. To put that into perspective for you, the biggest stadium in the entire world today holds around 90,000 people. This 1950 final had almost double that capacity. Uruguay won that match, and in Brazil, they are still talking about losing it over 7 decades later. Unsurprisingly, that attendance record has never been broken. Now, flip the script. This next fact brilliantly illustrates how quickly fortunes can change on the pitch. 56 seconds. That is literally all it took for Jose Batista of Uruguay to receive a red card against Scotland in 1986. 56 seconds. The match had barely even started. His team was forced to play with 10 men for 89 agonizing minutes. Miraculously, the match ended in a 0-0 draw, and Uruguay still managed to advance from the group. But man, that remains the fastest red card in World Cup history, still standing to this day. So let's look at the myth versus the reality of 1950. India actually qualified for the World Cup, but then suddenly withdrew. For decades, a popular legend has been passed around, that FIFA banned India because the players insisted on playing barefoot. Sounds like a great story, right? But the reality is actually far more grounded. They simply thought the Olympics were more important, and the trip to Brazil was just too long and way too expensive. India has never played at the World Cup since. That was their one and only chance. The barefoot story is a persistent legend, sure, but the financial and logistical reality is the absolute truth. Honestly, both are stranger than fiction. Moving right along to Part 2, finals that defied all belief. Take the 1994 final between Brazil and Italy. This right here is the only 0-0 final in history. I mean, think about it. These were the two greatest teams in World Cup history at the time. You had a massive global audience just waiting for magic. Yet, for 90 minutes, nothing. For 30 more minutes of extra time, still nothing. It is the only World Cup final ever to end without a single goal. It ultimately went to penalties, ending with the legendary Roberto Baggio missing the last one to send Italy out. That image of his miss is still everywhere today, but the fact that it took 120 minutes of completely scoreless football to get there, just mind-boggling. Fast forward to the 1998 final, Brazil versus France. Hours before the absolute biggest match of his life, Brazil's best player collapsed. He suffered a seizure. He was frantically rushed to the hospital, and yet, unbelievably, he was put right back into the starting lineup. Hours after a serious medical emergency, he played in a World Cup final in front of 1 billion people. France ended up winning that match 3-0. But the truth is, nobody fully understands what really happened that day. Even now, it remains one of the sport's most bewildering mysteries. Talk about a roller coaster. Let's see how this builds into an almost cinematic climax in 2006. Picture the best player in the world during the final. First, he scores an audacious Panenka penalty directly off the crossbar. Unbelievable skill, right? Then, step 2, with just 10 minutes left in extra time, literally 10 minutes from potentially lifting the World Cup, he headbutts an opponent directly in the chest. Step 3, he receives a red card. It instantly becomes the absolute last act of his entire professional career. France went on to lose on penalties. And yet, look at step 4. Despite all of that violent chaos, he still won the Player of the Tournament award. You can't make this stuff up. All right, Part 3. Canine heroes and clumsy doctors. Picture this. It's 1966, and someone actually manages to steal the real World Cup trophy from an exhibition in London. The police search frantically for a week and find absolutely nothing. Enter our unlikely hero, a dog named Pickles. He was just out for a normal walk and found the priceless trophy shoved under a hedge, wrapped up in old newspaper. England went on to win the World Cup that year, and Pickles the dog literally received fan mail. Some people even half-jokingly believe pickles was the reason England won the whole tournament, though naturally, we can't confirm that for sure. Let's go all the way back to the very first World Cup in 1930. A player goes down injured on the pitch. The team doctor sprints out with his medical bag, ready to help. But disaster strikes. He drops the bag. Inside that bag is a bottle of chloroform. The bottle breaks, the fumes immediately rise up, and the doctor completely knocks himself unconscious. He literally came onto the pitch to treat an injured player and ended up taking himself out with his own chloroform. You seriously cannot write comedy better than that. Now, we're taking a pretty sharp turn here. Part 4. Dark Deceptions and Real Tragedy. This is like a bad movie plot. Listen to this premeditated sequence of events from a World Cup qualifier. A Chilean goalkeeper hatched a plan. He went out, bought a blade, and hid it inside his glove before the match. And then he waited. When a flare from the crowd landed on the pitch, he threw himself down and used that hidden blade to cut himself. The master plan? Frame the opposing fans, make it look like their flare hit him, and get Brazil disqualified from the World Cup. But there's always a catch. A photographer caught the entire sequence on camera. The goalkeeper was banned from football for life, and Chile was banned entirely from the 1990 World Cup. It was the most elaborate plan to cheat your way into a tournament, and it completely blew up in their faces. But what happened in 1994 is pure tragedy. During the tournament, Colombian captain Andres Escobar scored an own goal against the USA. It was a complete accident, you guys, a mere deflection off his boot. He absolutely did not mean to do it. But that one accidental movement meant Colombia was eliminated. They went home, Escobar went home. The absolutely crushing part is the horrific real-world consequence of that on-pitch mistake. Just 10 days later, he was shot and killed outside a bar in Medellin. Andres Escobar was only 27 years old. Football lost something that day that it has never fully recovered from. It's a heartbreaking reality, a really grim reminder of what happens when passion crosses the line into fatal obsession. And that brings us to Part 5, the match that changed everything. This event is notoriously known as the Disgrace of Gijón. It's 1982, West Germany versus Austria in the final group match. Both teams knew exactly what result they needed. A win by exactly 1 goal for West Germany would magically send both teams through, eliminating Algeria in the process. Well, West Germany scored after just 10 minutes. And then, 80 minutes of nothing. For 80 whole minutes, both teams simply stopped playing. They just passed the ball around. No shots, no pressure, no actual football. The fans in the stadium knew exactly what was happening. They booed loudly. They threw things onto the pitch. They chanted for Algeria. But the result stood. Algeria went home, and both West Germany and Austria advanced. As you can imagine, FIFA was absolutely furious. And that fury created a permanent ripple effect across the sport. Before 1982, final group matches were played at different times, which is exactly what allowed those teams to calculate the result they needed in the first place. But look at what happened after 1982. From the next World Cup onwards, all final group matches must kick off simultaneously. Because of that one disgraceful match, no team can ever again know the exact result they need before they play. No team can just stop playing. Every World Cup since, every group, every final match day, it's all perfectly synchronized. One match in 1982 changed how the sport is organized forever. So, which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. The game has not changed. You have. Think about the incredible, unbelievable, tragic, and downright chaotic events we've just covered. How does the sheer madness of the past shape the highly organized, tightly regulated sports we love watching today? The rules we take for granted are almost always born from moments of absolute absurdity. 11 facts. All real, all happened at the World Cup. Whatever insane event happens next, it'll surely be added to this list. Thank you so much for joining me, and always keep questioning the history of the things you love.